Welcome to Really No Really. You haven't liked and subscribed yet? Really? Do it, or the puppets get angry. Now here's Jason Alexander and Peter Tilden.
Well, we have a guest in the studio.
You
in chair number 3, this very fine young man that I've known since he was a young lad.
Little man.
Who looks just like you.
You did a video for his band.
I did.
For Boyo.
You bet. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Mr. Robert Tilden.
Hey there.
The youngest progeny of
so
Mr.
proud.
Peter Tilden.
He knew where the camera was.
Sure.
Right away.
Well, I got prepped also.
Oh, all right.
It wasn't in my nature.
I was proud
To
and
be
you just
honest.
knocked my feet out from underneath me. All right.
I'm sorry about
And
that.
Robert is here today for a number of reasons. One is
Let's bring your kid to work day.
bring your kid to work day, but also your primary career at this moment is music, writing,
Yeah.
playing, all kinds. So we have a big music star in
band
the
is?
audience today. Are you talking about our other
Robert,
guest or
Robert.
Robert?
Forget our guest today.
I know about Boyo, but you also do music outside of Boyo, don't you?
Yeah, and I'd like to score things and produce things and read music books and consume everything. So yeah.
And you now you play not synthically on a keyboard, but you play keyboard, yes?
I play everything. It's like a jack of all trades in the sense where I can kind of do everything, but not to the greatest ability.
But you
can
play
dabble.
you play real guitar though, right?
Real guitar, yeah.
That's your primary instrument.
Yes, yeah.
But you play bass?
Play bass.
I hate you. Keyboard.
Is that the one you would love to play?
I'm struggling to learn. I was just talking to Sonny
Oh, man.
outside.
I brought
Wait,
him,
really? I didn't know
Yeah.
this.
as a gift for Jason's birthday, I booked the bass player, who you met, by the way, from the Rolling Stones.
Oh, okay.
And Jason came in, and it was a disaster. It was a disaster.
Well, I mean, the lessons
was
are
a
also. It's like someone was talking the other day about I was saying I wanted to learn animation or something that seems very hard and takes a lot of time, and they were just saying it. Use YouTube University, which I thought was a weird term, but you can just. I feel like
You
using.
do. I'm actually taking a free bass course on. I wish
You're
I could remember the
freebasing
guy's
now?
name. I'm freebasing,
Yeah.
and it's very helpful.
Really? No, really? Really? No, really? Really?
So today's guest
Yeah.
is a unique individual, Mike Campbell. Mike Campbell met Tom Petty in Gainesville, Florida when they were youths. And they were in Mudcrutch together. And then he was in the Heartbreakers. He wrote, one of the Really No Reallys, he wrote some of Tom's biggest hits. Then Fleetwood Mac needed somebody to replace Lindsey Buckingham. Who they call? Mike Campbell. So Mike Campbell has now joined us. I'm really excited about it. He's got a new book out, Heartbreaker, a memoir. He's also touring with the Dirty Knobs. But you're home, right? You're off the road at this point for a minute.
I am. I'm recording right now our 4th album. We just started yesterday. So I'm at home in LA, yeah.
Very, very cool.
So our show, Really No Really, we're going to talk about a lot of things today, but we always try and find something that makes Peter and I go, what is that all about? And your career has done something that I find so interesting, and I was first made aware of it, not specific to you, when I watched the documentary, I think it was 20 Feet from Stardom, about the glorious backup singers that are on all these great songs and albums that we know, and that people in the know who they are, but they go largely unrecognized. Now, you were certainly not unrecognized in your career, but what was so fascinating to me when Peter said we were having you on was to realize how great a writing and playing contribution you had made, certainly to the success of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. And yet, I think the average person may not be aware of how large that contribution is. And I just want to know how you, because I've asked some other people that are in similar circumstances, how that sits with you, how do you carry that, and does it bother you? Is it fine? Do you know going in that the spotlight is probably going to be on the other guy? I mean, what's your journey through being that other guy and yet such a substantial part of these creations?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I can explain that. Tom always called me the co-captain. And from the time I met Tom, I mean, I've always been a basically shy, quiet person. He's got a great dynamic personality, and it was a perfect fit. I didn't challenge his leadership or his charisma. And I was very comfortable because I trusted him, and I had this great partner who could do all that for me. I just sit back, la di da di da di da, yeah, you know. So it just our personalities just work that way, you know.
But meanwhile, the really no really for me too is you have a song like Breakdown. The guitar line is the song. Without that guitar line, it's a bunch of chords. Your guitar,
I agree.
and we're out.
And I heard no bitterness in that whatsoever. I heard nothing.
No, it's funny as a guitar because I play a little guitar. My son, who's joining us today because he wanted to talk to you, is a group called Boyo, and the guitar line. Writing songs is really, really interesting. So I love playing along with Tom Petty songs. And you go, wow, these are some basic chords and some really interesting chord changes. But then you do your thing and it changes the whole dynamic of the song every single time. So the really, no, really going on, I said to Jason, really, no, really, people should know that he wrote some of the biggest songs alongside Tom Petty and then came up with not only the music for it and later on the lyrics, but the guitar line. So when you come up with it, is that ever intimidating where you're in there? And I know you play studio musician too, where you can't find the line that's going to make the song great, and it has to gestate for years.
It's never hard for me. I think that's one reason Tom liked me is he could bring a song in that was just the basic chords, and we both had the same influences, the '60s and the Beach Boys, Beatles, Stones, all that. So I instinctively, just organically would join in. And it was always fun to discover, well, what can I add to this without getting in the way? And I always had a way of just finding the right thing that he liked and that we agreed on.
And
Just lucky, really.
you know, I do play music and I do know music, but I'm not a musician. So if someone writes it down and I'm lucky and I'm on the right instrument, I can play it. But when you're creating solo lines like that, are you immediately able to go, I hear it in my head and it comes out in my hands? Is that a direct communication, or is there a thought process behind it, a technical process of getting it to be the thing you hear in your head?
There's no thought process, really. My gift or my blessing, which I'm very grateful for, is a subliminal stream of consciousness. All my input to the music, 95% of it happens in the moment.
Wow.
Breakdown. Breakdown, just an example. I don't think these things out because I like they come out of the air, and if they pass through you. And breakdown, for instance, we cut the song da 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 da, very simple.
Mm-hmm.
And so we cut it, the basic track, it was maybe 6-7 minutes long. And I said, okay, well, let me play some guitar along with the track. They recorded me, and I just, shut my mind off and let it happen.
Yeah.
And I immediately kind of went to a blues form because that's the mood it's in. And so I noodled it along, pretty bad stuff, really, just letting it happen. At the end of the 6 minutes, I kind of got bored with trying to think of stuff. So I just instinctively went da 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 da. It was there in the air. I didn't think anything about it. So I recorded that and said, well, we'll look at it tomorrow. I went home, and then Tom called me back. He said, you got to come back down to the studio. I'm here with Dwight Twilley, and we heard the lick that you played at the end of your little jam, and that needs to go at the beginning of the song. I didn't remember what it was, so I went back down and heard it and go, oh, that's it. Okay. Learned it and played it on the top of the song. So all the guitar parts you hear on Heartbreakers records are spontaneous, most of them, and I just let them happen. I don't try to analyze or write them out or think them out. Occasionally you have to, but if I do put any thought process into it, I would go to the vocal melody. What's the guy singing? What's the notes?
Right.
And I'll find those on the guitar. If I get stuck and nothing's coming, I'll just go to the melody because I know that's going to work.
Uh-huh.
And then I'll turn the guitar around on it and turn it into something. It's kind of magical, really. I mean, I'm still fascinated by it.
It is magical. And it's magical for people like me who, I can hear music in my head. I have to struggle to get it out through my fingers. There's no instrument that is such a part of me that the translation is spontaneous. And I just find that to be magical for people that have it.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, the reason I'm able to do that is because I put in the hours of work of learning my scales and my craft and my feel.
Yeah.
So I had those tools already. So I don't have to think about that. I can just let my fingers do what they want to do, and my mind kind of follows them. But the magic metaphor is silly, but it's true. It's like you pull a rabbit out of a hat. Like, well, that wasn't there before.
Yeah,
Here it's here.
sure.
Where'd it come from? And
Yeah.
the music a lot of times for me is like that, and the songs too. They just come out of the air.
Well, it's the same really in the acting world. I find you do all your prep and you do your rehearsal, but what you're hoping for is in that performance something takes over that nobody knew was going to happen. And it's just
Exactly.
right, and it's in the flow, and everybody feels it, and you're not in control of it. You're sort of releasing to it. But I've only experienced it. That's where I put my 10,000 hours as opposed to where you put yours. So yeah, it is beautiful.
That's exactly what you hit the nail on the head right there, Jason. It's exactly that. You have your tools, you learn your craft, and then you put it in the moment. And rather than script it, you go with it. Maybe you change the phrase a little. In acting, you would change the word a little bit because it doesn't feel right in the moment,
Yeah.
and you come up with something better. It just happens.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, that was fun.
I was going to say that in learning about your past, I mean, you lived like a lot of us lived when we were teenagers in the hellholes, and then you moved out to the woods, and we're sharing a place. But the one thing that always stood out, and same with my son, if you love the music, you're holding your guitar, you're playing all the time. You played constantly, right? That was what you did. When other guys were going and doing other stuff, and I think one of your roommates went off to the Bermuda Triangle and disappeared. Another one went to Hawaii and lived his life there. You just kept playing and playing and playing. And then you met Tom when you were how old?
Oh, 20, 21, something like that.
In Gainesville. And by the way, at Gainesville at that time, it's funny because the Southern thing I would have thought was all Allman Brothers, but there's some amazing players, and you guys kind of tended toward that, more toward country, more toward birds, more toward that kind of sound, and Beatle harmonies, kind of birds harmonies. How did that seep into Gainesville? What was around in Gainesville that got you to that?
Well, the college, Gainesville is basically the University of Florida college community. So it's that young, idealistic energy around the campus. There were lots of free concerts. But the thing about the blues is the South is deeply blues and country ingrained. And we grew up around all that, But we also Tom and I were really enamored with the whole 60s thing, the Beach Boys, the dream of the golden sun and the beautiful girls. And then, of course, England with the Beatles, Stones, Kinks, all those great bands. That's what turned us on. So when in the South, there are a lot of bands. And as soon as the bands saw the Allman Brothers or Leonard Skinner being successful, they wanted to do that, But we didn't. It didn't really fit with us. We wanted to play birdsy, chords, harmonies. And so we were kind of stood out in a way because everybody else was playing Allman Brothers copies and we were doing our own thing.
Wow.
And it's just because that's what we were,
But it's interesting, and it's also really hard to do because you got to nail the harmonies, etc., and you're doing something different. Also, I'm curious about Tom. The word's intimidating, and I think your quote was, "You can't sell Tom. You couldn't talk Tom into anything." So you got a guy who.
Well, that's good. On occasion,
but you okay. So that answers.
And hence a partnership.
And hence, I got it.
I feel your pain, Mike. I'm nodding my head to the left here. I feel your pain.
Robert, did you have something you wanted?
Oh, I was just interested because you said you were inspired by the Byrds and the Beatles and the Stones, and I was listening to your guitar parts the other day, and there's like a tonal quality that I feel like kind of bridge the gap between them and the future. It sounds like you're doing what they're doing, but in a kind of futuristic way with your tone. And I wonder, was that the same kind of just flow where you just set your guitar in a certain way with the amp and it just sounded how it sounded, or were you really intentional with that?
Not intentional. It's just the way it is. You could take a guitar and an amplifier and get a sound on it and hand it to Eric Clapton. It's going to sound like him. Hand it to B.B. King. It's going to sound like him. Hand it to George Harrison or hand it to me. It's going to sound like me. It's in the hands, and a lot of the tone is the way you hit the strings, and the way you vibrato the strings is your own personality. And the tone a lot of it comes from the way you attack it with your own hands, not the amp per se. But also in terms of guitar, I love all those guitarists, but I also have to mention Mike Bloomfield, who's from the blues category. But that first Paul Butterfield blues album, where Mike Bloomfield is just playing all over the place, I tried to follow that a lot. I studied that quite a bit and tried to get inside his tone and his feel and his bending and stuff. So I learned a lot off that record as well. So, it's like Jason was saying, you put your 10,000 hours, or how the saying goes, and you do your homework, you build your skills and your basic framework, and then you apply that in a creative situation, and hopefully it'll give you some results.
Can I ask you about guitars? Because I think it was
Yeah.
either a drug dream or something. Did I see a video that you have more guitars than I've ever seen anybody have, but they're on like a dry cleaning rack that you can press a button? Because I mentioned that to people, and like a friend of yours and a producer, Ryan, I don't know that. People don't. They go, I haven't seen that. And so I thought maybe I'm doubting it, but it's up in the ceiling, and the guitars are hanging.
Yeah, Gibson Guitars did a little piece on that, and you can find it on YouTube probably somewhere. But it's a practical thing. Over, my old life, I've collected guitars because I love them, but I play them all, and when you get more than a handful, they end up in a case or else in a warehouse with a stack of cases, and you're in the studio and you go, well, where's that Les Paul? Well, it's in one of those cases. No, that's not it. Oh, it's at the warehouse. Oh, there it is. So I wanted to have them where I could see them and access them, because I do use them all, like paintbrushes when I'm working. So I got the idea. I have a cabana out back that's got a high ceiling, to make a carousel up above the room, like a Chinese laundry, and put them all there. And put the empty cases away, so I can walk in and go, oh, there's a Les Paul, there's the Rickenbacker. And I've got it on a hydraulic lift, so it comes down where I can reach them. And I lift it back up, and I've got the rehearsal band set up underneath. So it's quite a nice vibe.
How many guitars is that? And do you have to do what we all have to do, which is with the wife? When did you get that? I've had that. What are you kidding? You've never seen that guitar before?
Yeah. My wife, God bless her, she's talked me into buying a lot of things that I was going to pass on. She's a blessing. But, the oldest joke is, how many guitars does a guitar player really need? One.
Right. Yeah.
More.
Yeah.
One more. Right. But I love guitars, and they're pieces of art. I haven't bought one in several years because it kind of got all the ones I ever wanted. But most of them are vintage and old. I like the old ones. They have a better sound. And I walk in that room and I see all the guitars up there, and I go, I don't have time to get to all of you today,
But what a great visual
Yeah,
that
but
must
it's
be.
nice.
It's such a great thing to see.
But I have a practical question about that, Mike, knowing nothing about guitars. I always thought that if you didn't case the guitar, that it was prone to warping or some sort of damage or is none of that true? It's perfectly fine to store
not
them out
really,
in the open
no.
like that?
You don't want to leave it out in the sun, but if you've
Right.
got a basically, comfortable room,
Yeah.
some people put humidifiers in there. I'm not that precious about it. They're tough. The old ones are made really well.
Yeah.
And unless you really put them out in the weather, they just sit there and they're the same as they were
Oh,
2
that's
years ago.
But don't you worry? Like, I was just displaced because of the fires. It was impacted by that.
Oh, yeah.
What's your plan if you hear, like, I don't know what neighborhood you're in, but you hear we're going to evacuate, or this coming over the hill? Are there 300
Right.
people that are each going to grab a guitar, or how do you get them out of there?
No, well, that's a good question. And I did have a plan. I could see the smoke from my roof. I got the be ready warning. I didn't get the evacuation, but I called up the studio trucking company who I have a relationship with. They sent a truck over with a couple of guys. I was actually in Hawaii when it all went down.
Me too.
And they came over to the house and grabbed them all up and put them in a safe part of the city.
Wow.
And then when things were safe, they brought them back and put
Wow.
them back up.
Wow.
Good for
So,
you. Good
yeah,
for you. You
I-
had a plan. It would be such
I
a
don't
shame.
pamper them, but I do treasure them.
So moving forward, you're with
Yeah.
Tom Petty. So the Dylan movie is out. My son loved it. Jason kind of was not sure about it. We
I
can talk-
appreciated the movie. I wasn't. I mean, it's probably sacrilege.
You know?
I grew up with much older siblings, and my sister, instead of having the proper music collection of the 60s and 70s, had the soundtrack album of every musical and Broadway show available. So I didn't grow up affected by Dylan, as much as someone of my age should. So I was fascinated
Shame
by
on
the
you.
film. I know, I know. Believe me, my wife has threatened to leave me on many occasions because of this. But yeah, I didn't think the movie tracked for me. It comes down to that artistic integrity decision at the end about what he's going to play at Monterey, and is he going to serve the people that sort of brought him there, or is he going to be true to his muse? And I couldn't track through the film what that internal struggle was all about. So as a nice boy who was brought up by a nice mother, I would have said, oh, all right, what the hell, I'll play electric tomorrow. Let me do the festival the guy brought me to today, and I'll do my electric set tomorrow.
Right.
But that was my issue with the film. Other than that, it's a really well done film.
My impression of Bob is he's going to do whatever he wants to do. He's not going to worry about if somebody thinks it's this or that. He was probably just in the mood. I just got my electric guitar. I've got Mike Bloomfield over here playing with me. I want to plug in and play too. And he just did what the fuck he wanted.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
That's quite right.
I don't know if we can do that on here, but that's the way he is. He does what he wants, and he doesn't cater to anybody's expectations. That's the beauty of his personality.
But when you're hanging with him, is he all forward moving? It's funny. A friend who played with Ringo, in the All-Star Band, and he said the first couple of years, Ringo, the news was, do not ask Ringo about the Beatles. He just doesn't want to talk about the Beatles. And then as it got older, I guess that he got older, he started volunteering, and then they said you couldn't stop him telling stories about the Beatles.
Right.
What does Dylan like to eat dinner with? Does he tell Dylan stories? Can you ask him questions? Is there stuff that's forbidden to talk about? Is it a weird?
No, I have had some private, just me and him at the table, and it's like he told me. He said, I can't communicate or relate to many people, but I like musicians because they understand me. And we talked about music. We talked about Muddy Waters and blues, and at one point he goes, the world doesn't need any more songs. There's thousands of songs. They've already been written. I'm just going to do some of those. I'm not going to write any more songs. And I said, well, Bob, I think people would probably like to hear what's on your mind.
Wow.
I think you should keep writing songs, but he's just, once you get over the veneer, oh my God, it's so-and-so, and you just get down, there's two musicians talking. That's what he's like. He's just deep into the music, and he's very generous, and he's very smart. You got to be on your toes. He doesn't suffer fools.
Yeah.
If you say something stupid, he's going to notice it.
But
he's really sweet. He's a great guy. I mean, he's really. It's hard to put in words, but I have nothing but reverence for Mr. Dylan.
I wonder if you have any insight into this, Mike. It's a fascinating moment. It's in the documentary that was made when they were recording "We Are the World," and Dylan is one of the last guys that's going to solo that night. And he gets.
I've seen that.
Yeah, he kind of gets in his head and in his way, and Stevie Wonder eventually. What it looks like is Stevie Wonder sort of does a Dylan impression to show Dylan how to sing the Dylan lines, and then he was able to do it. But do you understand potentially what was going on in his head that made him so tighten up like that?
I have a hunch that he has a knee-jerk reaction to all the attention that's piled on him and the expectations. And he walks in a room and says, oh, what's he going to do? He's a genius. It's going to be amazing. And he feels all that. And he's just he's kind of, in a way, he's kind of shy and like, leave me alone. I don't want all that attention. I'm not God. I'm not going to show you the truth. You find that for yourself. But I think that's what it is. It's just like, get out of my face, and it makes him nervous and self-conscious as anybody would be.
Yep. I feel
but I saw that Stevie Wonder showing him how he should sing it. It was hilarious. I think he really appreciated it because it took the heat off him.
You bet. He seemed to really just blossom right after that. He went, oh, I can do that. Okay,
Yeah.
My impression was that he got.
I can be me.
Yeah, if it were me, I sort of projected into Bob Dylan in that moment, and I thought if I were in that room. I can sing a little, but I'm not going to open my mouth in that room. I think he was surrounded by some of the
Well, it
best
would be
singers in the
like
world.
say if you walked into a movie to do a cameo, and you were nervous. Maybe there was some starlets
Yeah,
there, or
yeah,
that you were like, "Oh my God, it's Steven Spielberg," or whatever. And they said, "Okay, be George,"
yeah.
and you'd be like, and somebody would step and you go, "Oh, he do it like this." You go, "Oh yeah, that's right, I know that." It was kind of like that, you know.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, I was wondering from just working with different artists like Dylan and Petty, did you feel like you had to channel different parts of your musical self to write and play with them, or or you feel like you kind of had one unanimous kind of writing brain with these people? Like with Dylan, did he have different expectations of a kind of guitarist and writing partner, or was it just all kind of one collaborative thing?
Well, whoever you're working with, you know, Roy Orbison or Del Shannon, whoever, you bring your skills to the table, and you try to give them what they want, what you think they might want to hear from you. You know, it's interesting because sometimes people hire you to do something, and they want you to do what you do, and you come in wanting to do what they want you to do. You know, like try to
Right.
maybe they want something like this, but it's not. You're always channeling. You're always channeling your influences that you draw on them when you can, and hopefully they're there for you when you need them.
Who, I read that you guys open. I always love seeing concert bills that are weird. Even growing up in Philadelphia, where I was, you'd go to the Electric Factory and you'd see like, the bad example, but like ABBA and Frank Zappa. Some promoter would put things together just because they got them and the
Yeah.
dates for free, and they try and build it. I know you guys opened for Kiss. What was the
Yeah.
weirdest bill you were ever on where you thought this
The
is not?
weirdest bill that's in the book. It's a great story about that. It's hilarious. But the weirdest bill at that stage of our career, they were trying to hook us up with anybody. Open for this, open for that, jump on this. And one day, after it was in the Midwest somewhere, they had us opening for the LA Express, which was a jazz band. You
Right.
know, it's like a lot of saxophones and do ba da ba ba ba, but it had nothing to do with us at all. And so they were the headliner, and we were the nobodies. So we came on before them to these jazz aficionados. And I remember we walked into the stage and some guy goes, "What's this, the Monkeys?"
Oh, nice.
That was it. That was, but we did, we showed them. But that was the weirdest mismatch of ever.
Wow.
Well, the other thing is, your first time you're playing a stadium. What's in your head when you're looking out at that and you're trying to connect with that crowd? It would seem like it's almost impossible because in theater, Jason that always tell me that it's black. You can't really see
Yeah.
them other than the first couple
I'm
rows.
experiencing them sonically.
But
I
in a
cannot see them.
stadium, you come out at a 100,000 seater or 60,000 seater. What's coming back at you? It must be intense, first of all. But what are you focusing on?
You focus on the music, and it's interesting that the big, huge crowds, like we played at the US Festival, there's 200,000 people, or Hyde Park, 60,000 people. And when you have a situation like that, you feel it and you see them all, but you don't see their individual faces. You just see this collage of people, And so it just becomes kind of a backdrop, and you try to just play like you were in a 50-seat club. And interesting thing is when you're in a small room and you can actually see their faces, you're really connected with them. You actually play to them. And the bigger crowds, you're playing to the collage,
Yeah.
and you're just
Wow.
trying to make it as real as you can. But there's no direct person-on-person communication. But the sound is pretty overwhelming. It's like somebody opens an oven in front of you. And it's like
Wow.
it's quite an experience. But there is a difference. But it was never intimidating playing to bigger places because it's so big. It's out there, and they're hearing a whole different mix than you're hearing up here.
Right.
So you're hoping that they're getting a good show, but you just try not to let it affect you. Just do your thing.
Well, is it as fulfilling, or do you like playing? All these bands that play these huge venues always end up, whether it's the Stones or whoever, doing. McCartney still plays small gigs every once in a while.
Yeah,
Is it because it's more fulfilling seeing the people's faces rather than that collage?
probably, but both are great. That's like saying what's better, recording in the studio or playing live? Well, they're both great.
Mm.
They're different. But a smaller gig. I think I read Keith Richards said the best room for rock and roll is about 200 people. And I know what he means, because the thing about the smaller rooms is everybody's hearing the same sound. The walls are right here.
Yeah.
We're all in the same sonics. We're all in the same aura. And when it's the big gig, you've got your monitor mix, and then you've got these big speakers way out here throwing something out there to all these people. There's a slight disconnect. But that all comes down to the songs. You want to make sure the songs connect with whether it's one or 800 people, whatever.
Mike, I'm going to ask you the musician version of a question I get as an actor all the time, because I do a lot of live performing. So it's twofold. One is, you're up there, you're having a great night, everything's going great, and you suddenly realize either your bladder or your sphincter is in desperate need of attention, and you've got another hour on the set, or you're in the middle of a thing and you go, I have no idea what friggin' chord or lyric. It goes out of your head, even though you've played it 1,000 times. Have you had that happen, and what's your reaction? Either of those things happen, and what's your reaction?
Okay, I'll answer the first question first.
Yep.
Is you grin and bear it.
Uh-huh.
If you're smart, you'll prepare yourself before you get on the stage. And if you get up there and it's like, oh no, nothing I can do,
Right,
it was wait.
right.
And at the end you run to the restroom, that's that.
Nobody ever thinks
weird
about
question,
that, by
but
the way.
yeah.
They think that, they might have another bit of attention being taken somewhere, but yeah.
Well, that doesn't happen too often, But if you're like drinking 6 beers and then go on stage, you're going to have
you're gonna have an
trouble
issue.
about 45 minutes into the show.
Sure, yeah.
But I don't do that. And the other question
It was just going up on a lyric or getting lost in the song. I don't know what
that's
I'm
a
doing.
good question. I'll give you an example of that in my new life now as the singer and fronter of the band.
Yeah.
Like when I was in the Heartbreakers, I had the easiest job. And I never had appreciation for all the things, all the moving parts that Tom was dealing with at that microphone. I'm just back there. Oh yeah. And I never could forget if my brain forgot, my fingers would have memory. They
Right.
just do it. But I would always just thought, but now that I happen to front the band, remember the words, sing on pitch, connect with the audience, all these things, it's a lot of tasks.
Yeah.
And I found, thank God, now I can get a teleprompter if I get stuck.
Yeah.
But I found that not the guitar chords, but the lyrics. Sometimes I'll be up there and, okay, the solo, I'm getting lost in the solo, and I got to sing the verse when it comes up, and I go,
Uh-huh.
oh, I don't know, what's that word? And sometimes, what's the first word? Or sometimes if it doesn't, sometimes it'll come to me right the split second before I'm supposed to sing. If it doesn't, I just make something up.
You and I are talking the same language, my friend.
Have you had a
That's a
bad?
fear moment, like, what is it? What is it? Oh,
Yep.
God, people are looking at me. What am I going to do? But the important thing I've learned is like, that's okay. If they'll laugh with you.
Yep.
If as long as you just have a laugh with it, you're okay. But if you get uptight, then the game's over.
You betcha.
Have you ever had a disaster, like a bad tech thing happen, like the famous Van Halen video where the track starts and it's off key, and they attempt to play along with it, but they're having to strip off?
That's nothing that bad, but there's always the potential for a PA to blow up. Oh, this is a great story. Once we were in the Heartbreakers in the Midwest, one of those sheds outside, and there was a thunderstorm, and we were doing this song Refugee, and we got right to the solo, and right near the end, before we come back into the verse, there was this big, and all the lights in PA went down,
Wow.
just black, and right in the middle of the song. So, but the amps were still on, and the drums were still up there. So we just kept playing, all got real quiet. You could just hear what was on the stage, not in the PA. And we're just kind of playing along. And then right, we pedaled for a while, and he stepped up to the mic to sing the last verse, and boom, it came back on. And what was cool is when it got quiet, the audience started singing the song for us. They took up the slack. They were in on it. That's the thing to remember is they want to like you. They want you to succeed, and they'll help you.
Bands. I was in a band in high school and in college, and then what happened is the same thing that happens to lots of bands. You end up hating this guy. This guy ends up being trouble, or this guy who doesn't come to rehearsal, skips 3 rehearsals. Every group has like a personality. So navigate.
Right.
I know that's why you wrote the book too, in a way, Heartbreaker, a memoir. You're like the conciliator, the guy who smooths stuff over. But is it trouble all the time? Because I know that if one guy's, it's like the Dodgers, our friend ran the Dodgers for a while, and he said one player can be a cancer to the team if he's negative. He can poison the well. So, and you guys are out on the road doing 60 dates a year, and you're on buses and planes, and you're together all the time, 24/7. So you get to know intimate stuff about everybody, the divorce, the drugs, whatever it is. It's know everything. How does a group manage to stay together for 30 years, 40 years when you got that stuff working? I think you said you got egos, you got resentments, and you got wives. Because I've known a wife who came in and asked the head of the band, he needs more money, asking for the player, that he needs confronting the player. And I think that was the last time the guy played with the band. How hard is that to perform at these big venues when that's all going on?
Are you guys married?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
45 years. My
Okay. Imagine, how can I describe it? Imagine if you were legally allowed to or forced to have 7 wives. Okay. You're going to have trouble along the way. You know, one of the other of them is going to have a bad day. It's going to ruin everybody's mood, right? I mean, a band is like that. It's like a marriage of all these egos and personalities. And I'm very proud that we kept ours together, because bands break up for a lot of reasons. And I didn't want my band to ever break up. And I was not going to let it happen. I would fight tooth and nail to, if there's an argument, to get to the root of it, work it out. Maybe I was the therapist. I don't know. But I would sort it out, put the fires out so we can keep making music, you know. That's the way I always looked at it. But I think it's a testament to Tom's loyalty to the band, and that our love for each other, that we got through those things without breaking up.
Yeah, but wait a minute. If you're the conciliator, what I'm feeling is to do that, they have to respect you also and listen, because nobody's telling you go screw yourself. Go screw yourself. They have to be trusting of you, and understand that the word that's coming down from you is also the word that's coming down from Tom. So you have to like broker peace deals constantly, but you have to have all kinds of credibility.
It's not constantly. It's now and then, you know. And I'm a very trustworthy person. Of course, they trust me. You know, I'm the co-captain.
Got it.
But it's not as nightmarish as you might think. Occasionally, somebody will get pissed because somebody drank their beer or used the toilet and didn't flush or some bullshit. You know, it's brothers. You know, just shut up. Okay, let's work this out. What are you upset about? All right, get over it.
Now, is that where the title "Dirty Knobs" came from? From the guys not flushing the toilet? What is the derivation?
No, it was actually. It's very innocent. I've also since found that there's an English terminology for that word, but okay. But it was so simple and mindless. We were in the studio, and the engineer learned over to turn up the EQ on the Neve board or whatever, and the Neves are old, they get scratchy, and he went, and he goes, "Oh, it's a dirty knob," and I went, "We'll be the dirty knobs." You know, it's simple as that.
There you go.
Name, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that is better than
I thought of changing it.
My son
But I couldn't
Gabe.
come up with anything else.
My son Gabe had a sketch group for a while. They used a random word generator to come up with the name of the group, Idiot Chimney. I went, "Oh, that's fantastic."
Wow, that resonates.
That's pretty good.
By the way, at least the term idiot was in there that they used the generator.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you can have a lot of fun picking up band names. You know, like
Right?
Hopscotch,
Absolutely. That's the
Squirrels,
hardest
or
part of being a
whatever.
musician. What's
Monkey
the band
pants.
name?
You just put
Right.
together, yeah.
Monkey Pants. Yeah,
Right?
that's a
Not
good one.
bad.
Pants.
Thank you. There you go.
Mike Campbell and Monkey Pants.
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
have
It's
to use
yours,
that.
man. See, I knew that would resonate with you, because pants is a great word, and monkey. How can you beat that?
Yeah.
Well, look at him. It's going to be Monkey Pants tour next
Right?
year.
There he goes. Yeah, I should have done that. It's
Robbie,
too late now.
What did you want to ask? I'm sorry.
Oh, I just think it's so cool that fronting a band now. Do you feel? You said you feel like there's different pressures with remembering lyrics and etc. But do you feel like there's also kind of a release, being able to write the lyrics and write kind of everything, like the holistic part of every song? Get the lyrics, the creative, all your creative juices out. Like, does it feel different than like being the co-captain, as you said before? Is it what is the kind of distinction?
It's great. It's like the second chapter of my life, and I'm really proud of the first chapter, which was 40 years. And my role in that group I'm very proud of it. But now I feel like I'm still physically okay, and my mental capabilities are sharp, and I'm able to kind of, hate to use it, blossom as a creative person in my own way and do my own thing, and I'm really loving it. I love being at the microphone at the gigs and connecting with the people, talking to them, and leading the band and doing the songs that I wrote, a lot of them. And I like the challenge of remembering the words and the pitch things, trying to sing on pitch, and putting the set list. Yeah, I like being the boss. I'm the highest court in the land now.
Yeah, you don't have to put up with it. So, what did you, working with, we didn't even talk about George Harrison and the Wilburys, but what have you learned? If you're taking away, we talked about Dylan, you worked with Harrison, you worked with some of the biggest guys, you worked with Ringo, you worked with Warren Zevon, all these. What did you take away? Did you learn something from Dylan that you took with you? Did you learn something from Harrison?
Yeah, if you pay attention, you learn from everybody you work with. You pull something, you observe them, and you go, "Oh, I could do something more like that. It'd be good for me." Or, they all inspire you, and I'm always learning. I always pay close attention, like the people like that. You watch them, how they work, how they their process, their creative process is, and their work ethic, and all that.
From Dylan, is there something specific?
Well, yeah, there was so many things, but one thing I like that I learned, I think, from Dylan, which I think Tom also learned, is to be fearless and be brave. Like before the Heartbreakers worked with Dylan, we were kind of old showbiz. We get our set list, we work on it, have an arc to it, and that's it. We're going to go out. We're going to please the people. We're going to work them up. We're going to ingratiate with them. And then Bob comes along. It's like, I'm just going to do what I like, and if they like it, fine. If not, they can go get some popcorn. And it's like there's some freedom in that. Like, oh, okay, well, we're going to try this song. We didn't rehearse it, but be brave and courageous. We can make this work because we're good. And there's something to that I think I did learn. The spontaneity, definitely in the Dirty Knobs, we're very spontaneous. We'll change anything at any time, and it creates a lot of kinetic energy.
I want to ask you a question, Mike, as we start to tie up for Rob here. And Rob, you can tag on to my question as much as you can. So Robert is, the primary writer and the front man for this band that's begun to do quite well, Boyo, young guy in his 20s. But I'm imagining the music business when you guys began versus what's happening now and what he's facing is a very different creature. How do you navigate it, and do you have any advice for guys like Rob who are really banging away at it somewhat successfully, but it's still an upward slog?
Yeah.
What have you learned, or how do you have any advice for the young guys who are trying to navigate this stuff?
Yeah, I hear you, and it is so different now than when I started out. It was a different game plan to try to keep it together and be successful. Completely different game plan. I don't even really understand the social media music scene. We still sell vinyl. We do okay with the vinyl and stuff, and some CDs, I guess, but mostly we do vinyl and streaming, whatever that. I don't even know, but it's still because it's alien to me. I know it's different though, and I know that building a career in this world is like the Wild West. I mean. So my only advice would be just do what I did, love what you do. And if you don't sell millions of records, at least you're doing what you love to do, and maybe you will. But my hunch is if you're doing something like I never did it because I thought I was going to be rich. I never thought I would. I thought, sure, I'll never be rich playing the guitar. I'm not George Harrison, I'm not John Lennon. I'm just some dumb kid from Jacksonville. But, my thought process was not, I think a lot of bands now, they think of TV and social media and they want to be famous,
Yeah.
or be a celebrity. I think that's a dark hole. I think it's the wrong way to go about music. For me, I never thought about that. I would dream about it, but it was like this unattainable dream. But what I did do is I loved it so much. I loved playing the guitar. I loved listening. I loved writing. And I would have done it no matter what. If I ended up pumping gas for a living, I'd still be playing music. And I think if you love it, then you're going to be okay. Whatever happens, if you love what you're doing, you've already won the game.
True that.
That's beautiful, man. I mean, also,
blah blah blah. The old man said.
No, it's a beautiful sentiment and thing, because I don't know, you've given me a lot of, I think, musical inspiration. So hearing that is wonderful. Thank you. That's my
good luck
on.
with the industry. I mean, the industry is always morphing. It's like I talked to my manager. He says, "Well, last week we did this. This week we have to do this to get your record played." So it's just don't get hung up on that, because it's going to always morph. I keep dreaming. I have this dream that there's going to be a sun flare and it's going to zap all digital music, and no social media, no cell phones, and we're going to have to go back to playing music and making records again. That'll never happen.
Hallelujah!
I hope that
I look
happens.
forward to that day.
Hey, how do we chip in?
I would
Let's
be
do
okay with that.
the solar flare telethon.
Yeah.
Have people singing in
Yeah.
front, donate money to create a solar.
please,
Oh my God!
please
right?
let that happen.
And we got a sponsor who's going to double your money right now. Before we go, I got to mention one thing because I work with a lot of people who work with dog charities. Okay, as a matter of fact, my wife, and I put this out there a lot because people don't know this. So our dog passed away, who was a pain in the ass for 14 and a half years, Dexter, 15? He was a pain in the ass. He was the best. He
The
was
whole time
demanding,
he was,
whatever.
yeah.
And I said, I'm not getting another dog. And my wife,
you got to.
unbeknownst to me,
Yeah.
she has hearing issues, and she has a cochlear implant. So when she takes it out, she can't hear. So she went to the Sam Simon Foundation, which exists, and they adopt all of these dogs that they're going to put down, and they train them. And she said, "We're getting a hearing dog." And what am I going to say? No. So they bring home this.
Cool.
So they bring home this pug. I never saw myself as a pug person. I fell in love with this dog. So he is such a part of our life. And the funny thing, sad thing, is my friend said, it's great. You never have to worry about putting him down because he's going to outlive you. I went, oh, thank you for that one. But you,
Interesting point. Interesting point.
Dark
but
point.
you.
Then you have to worry about who's going to take care of him after you're gone.
Well, my wife will outlive me. My kids will take. My kids love him. But you have a huge. I figured it a great opportunity to mention your dog charity because I know you and your wife are so involved.
Yes.
In dog rescue, and I thought that was important to go out on that too. So.
Well, it's called the Tassie Fund, and thank you for mentioning that. My wife and I, if you read the book, there's a great story of how we met. We were brought together by a dog.
Right.
And we just got a new puppy recently. But the thing you said about losing your dog is hit a nerve with me because we've had pets. I've been around a long time. I've had several pets, and they live 13, 15 years, and then you have to say goodbye to them, and it's always
the worst.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But I read something once that said, "Look, dogs are a blessing and a gift. They come into your life, and they have a job to do. Their job is to make you happy for the 12 years or whatever. And when their job is done, they say goodbye and they send another dog into your life somehow mystically to come in and finish the job that they didn't finish." So I like to look at it like that because it always is heart-wrenching.
Oh man.
But a new dog, we just got a puppy, and he's like joy. There's joy all through the house. This little energy, this guy. And I know someday, maybe he'll outlive me. I don't know, but I don't care. I want to enjoy him while I'm here. And dogs are great. I can't endorse them more.
So check
They
out
make your life better.
Wow.
check out his foundation, the book, and it's in there too about the meaning of the dog and you and your wife. It's a Heartbreaker, a memoir. The Dirty Knobs are out, not right this second because you're sitting at home, but you're out on tour. So go see them because why not? Why wouldn't you? And continued success, man, and doing what you're doing. And
You're a
Thank you
very
very much. I
cool
enjoyed
dude,
this
Mike
quite a bit.
Campbell. You're a good dude. I had fun chatting
you are a
with
good
you.
dude.
Thank you. It's funny, George. Just
You won't be the first or
My
the
wife
last. It's
goes.
okay.
My wife looked at my schedule. She says, "You're talking to George Costanza today?" I said, "I guess I didn't know he was into music, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it."
You
so
bet.
Thank you, Jason.
My
and-
pleasure,
and
Mike.